Your life has a higher calling on it, to hold space for other people to know their true heart, to free themselves from the prison of their mind because no one had taught them the powerful and effective and easy way of meditation. You just need to have the audacity, the bravery to first of all think about what you want, then to say it, declare it out loud, and then to say yes when it arrives, because you get what you ask for in life. Just honoring the calling, honoring that voice that's saying you have the capacity to help others the way you have been helped. The calling to be a spiritual teacher, leader, guide, somebody that holds space for other people, somebody that's had a profound experience of the transformative work of inner development through meditation, through mindfulness, through practices that came from the East, were taken to the West, and are now evolved into a science that studies have been done on to prove that these systems and strategies work for grounding, focus, and meditation. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to another episode of the Spiritual Rebel podcast, where I want to deep dive the calling to be a spiritual teacher. Some of you out there may have already been doing quite a bit of work on yourself. Maybe you remember a time where you weren't as grounded, you weren't as centered. Maybe you remember a time where you didn't even know about how to connect to your spirit, how to open your heart and love yourself and the world unconditionally. And then you went through a process, an awakening, and that awakening took you into seeking, where you have probably quite possibly been stuck for a while. Seeking deeper connection with yourself, seeking to heal your trauma, seeking to heal more pain, seeking to be more perfect. And as women, specifically those of you who, like myself, have the perfectionist bug, you might get stuck on your journey thinking that in order to really be a powerful leader, you need to be perfect. And also, we have philosophy around that. Yes, we've had spiritual gurus who speak about enlightenment and speak about it as a space of what seems like perfection, where you have transcended the human being and you've transcended negative thinking or feeling or acting, right? And you've become illuminated, enlightened. And a lot of us, when we get into the seeking phase, we are all looking for an end to being human. Here's the thing. There is no end to being human. There is no end to being human. No matter how many hours of meditation you're going to do, no matter how much time you're going to spend in trauma work, no matter how many tears you're going to cry of releasing attachment to things that no longer serve you, you will not stop being human. Now, you guys know my story. It started in India, right? It started in an ashram. This ashram, the teacher had already passed away. But his disciples had put him on this huge pedestal as a completely enlightened, perfect being. But when you look at the story of this man, you will see the humanity. You will see that he made bad decisions, even financially. He made bad decisions on team members and people that he took close to him to work because he was human and because humans are human. So maybe in that moment, it didn't feel like I'm making a bad decision. He was making the best decision he could at the time, right? And maybe later on, it turned out to be, okay, this was not the perfect thing for me to have done, and there were learnings and lessons to have learned from that. And if you guys have recently seen the amazing movie from the Dalai Lama, you will discover his story about being human as well, right? Talking about his escape from his homeland and the fact that so many people wanted to see him dead, right? And death threats, and he needs bodyguards around him, because his story provokes in some people love and happiness and joy, and for other people it provokes hate and misunderstanding. So what I'm trying to tell you with this is that if you have a calling to teach, to share, to be a guide for other human beings, at some point you need to come into peace with the fact that you're going to be continuing to grow as you step into that role as a leader, as you step into that role as a spiritual coach, guide, mentor, healer, that while you're able to hold space for others and lead them forward like someone led you forward, you also have to deal with your human side. You have to deal with the fact that you will be doing things in your life where you're like, oh my God, this is so stupid. Why am I still doing things like this? Oh my God, I still have these feelings. Jesus, I should have transcended these feelings, but yeah, boop, there they are, right? You will continue to be human, and that comes with a certain level of relationship to what I call the shadow part of us as humans, right? So inside of us, there is light. There's a light part. There is the soul, the spiritual part, where you're whole and not broken, where everything about you is exactly and perfectly as it's meant to be, where every decision you make, every step you take, everything you do is exactly how it's meant to be done, taken. Every experience is exactly how it's meant to happen. So in fact, from looking at it from that perspective, there are no mistakes. Yes, there is nothing ever wrong. You're never doing anything wrong. You're always perfectly in alignment with exactly where you are right now and taking the decisions you're able to take in this moment. And then when you look at the shadow side, that means our upbringing, things that have happened to us, things that continue to happen to us, because it's not just, we're not just reacting for the trauma of the past. Of course, there's that to heal from and there's that to move through. But what you're also dealing with is your trauma or pain about things that are going on in lifetime, right? I've been speaking to a lot of people in the last couple of years, because this is my work to interact with humans. And the last year since COVID have proven to be extremely challenging for many people on a business level, on a personal level, and even on a health level. People have been struggling to find their forward motion. Now, some people have thrived during COVID because that's just the nature of reality, where some people might struggle, some people will succeed. Where somebody's feeling stuck, somebody will be moving forward in a very fast and rapid way. Where someone's feeling like, I have a lot of bad luck, someone else will be feeling like, I'm one of the luckiest people on planet Earth. That's just the nature of life. And so there's no point in comparing your story to other people's story. It's just important to look at your own story and notice what's going on. So for me personally, the last 5 years since COVID have been about learning to lead regardless of my external circumstances. Now, this is what I was taught from one of my greatest teachers that I love teaching anyway, an inner peace, a love and joy that doesn't depend on external circumstances, events, or people. Now, that sounds really nice, doesn't it? And honestly, for a long time, I felt like that was easy for me to ground inside of my spirit regardless of what was going on in my life. But that was before I became full-fledged spiritual teacher. By this I mean known for that, right? People around the world know me, Mahima, right? International best-selling author, and known in a few places for the work that I do. So now you have more eyeballs on you. Now you have more people expecting you to act, think a certain way. When you're invisible, when you're not seen by so many people, it's so much easier to operate with whatever your humanity is, right? Because the biggest critic is always going to be you. But when you step into the light, you become more visible. And with that visibility, there comes criticisms, judgments about what you're doing. Not everyone's going to criticize and judge you. Thank goodness you're also going to be adored, loved, and appreciated for the work that you do. But you're also going to need to deal and be able to manage those criticisms, right? And when COVID happened, lots of things I had not learned about being a successful spiritual growth mentor during challenging times. I hadn't learned that. I knew how to be a super sparkly, high energy when things were going my way, when things were amazing and my business was growing and my students were, multiplying, more and more students coming on my campus each year. That was amazing. But when COVID hit and then challenges started to happen, and then I had to learn how to continue to shine and be an incredible leader, mentor, guide when things weren't going my way, right? So this was the next step and level of my development. And that's why I want to be here on this podcast talking to you if you have that calling inside of your heart to step up and lead. Yes, be brave because you will have more eyeballs on you, and that does take courage, right? And it might not go amazing from the start. It might not be just like a rocket ship of success from the day you decide, I'm gonna do this. You might need to go through some growing challenges, yes? But here's what's important to know. Your life has a higher calling on it. And if you're listening to this up till now, it's because it's a topic that you've called in to hear more about. My purpose since the age of 25, I knew that I was put on this planet to hold space for other people to know their true heart, to know their soul, to know their divine self. Because when I connected to that, it was as if I discovered a whole world that I didn't even know existed. And of course, I wanted to share that with others when I saw them suffering, just spinning and spinning in their own minds, not able to free themselves from the prison of their mind because no one had taught them the powerful and effective and easy way of meditation. Right? Of course, I wanted to share my wisdom and knowledge when I saw people struggling with creating lives that they loved and that they were excited about because no one taught them the power of manifestation and how you can actually create what you want. You just need to have the audacity, the bravery to first of all think about what you want, then to say it, declare it out loud, and then to say yes when it arrives, because you get what you ask for in life. And so, of course, I wanted to share that magic with other people. So I know that there are other people like me out there who have done this work and who feel they want to help others do this. But maybe you've got no idea where to start. Well, start with this. Start with just honoring the calling, honoring that voice that's saying you have the capacity to help others the way you have been helped. So that's how I started. I just had the bravery to just listen to my heart. I was 27 years old and say, yes, I need to open a class. I didn't know how I was going to do this, but I knew I needed to go somewhere and just meditate with people. That was the first way that I knew how to transfer this message, how to transfer this energy. And the interesting thing is that the minute I decided to do that, I immediately created a ripple effect where I was invited all over Europe to give these meditation sessions. So I said yes to myself in Bali, going to this one center there. And from that center, people invited me to Germany, to France, Italy, Austria. I was invited to Spain. I was in Switzerland, right? So through one guided soul decision to follow my calling and live my purpose as a spiritual teacher, healer, even though I didn't know how to do it. I just knew that I had information that people needed. So you're listening to this, and you're probably one of those people that have that calling, yes, that have that deep desire to help others. So you can do it by honoring the steps that you've already taken. Yes, it's very important on your spiritual journey to own your transformation. Even my worst day, let's say in these 5 years since COVID, I've had some very challenging and special experiences. There was never a moment where I thought, I'm going backwards, right? Like I haven't learned anything spiritually, mentally, emotionally. Like my ego says a lot, but I don't believe the BS, because I know with every ounce of my being, as I sit on this chair right now, that every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better and better. Once you have owned your growth, owned your transformation, peace is real, freedom is real, manifestation of desires and miracles is real. No outside experience that isn't perfect will make me say, oh, it's not real, it's not real. Yeah, pain is real, suffering is real. That's real too, okay? That's real too. I won't deny pain, suffering, maybe even some confusion at times, or feeling challenged by this, that, and the other. So as much as that can be real, you will never hear me saying peace is not real, spirit, soul is not real. I have spent many hours of days, years, months of my life absolutely soaked in the presence of my divine self. You know, unless I was being tortured to say it's not real, there's never any moment where you'll hear me saying that. So as a seeker who seeks to help others, you need to own your enlightenment. You need to own the wisdom you've learned. One of the most beautiful things that I've learned is that I'm not my body. I'm not my story. I'm not my pain. I'm not my confusion. I'm not my happiness. I'm not my sadness. I'm not my success. We are the spirit that inhibits this body temporarily, and then that spirit moves on at an unknown time. This whole reality is temporary, and so it's more about experiencing each moment, living each moment, than about the money or the health or the job or the this. But we haven't been taught that. We're hijacked and brainwashed in the world to think that we are our identity. So I am Mahima, the spiritual coach, the spiritual mentor. And if my whole identity is wrapped up in that, if I'm not successful, yeah, which happened to me because I experienced less success during my COVID time, right? I experienced less clients coming onto my campus. And I experienced feeling like, oh, will the Mahima mindset business even survive this COVID thing, right? So whatever identity I had wrapped up in, being this successful spiritual mentor, I had to come face to face with whether I have success or don't have success, that does not define me. Yes, that doesn't get to define whether I feel joy or peace or stillness. Yes, our essence, our true self is beyond any label. When you connect to that aspect of yourself, the part that is connected to the grass and the trees and rivers and the multitude of skies and universes that we cannot even see with our eyes, when you connect with yourself as as the ocean and the fish that swim in it, when you connect with yourself as your soul, as your essence, there's something magical that starts to happen in your ability to let go and take ownership of what you truly want in this life. And you're able to seem brave in moments where people are like, how are you still smiling when all this is going on? Because my happiness doesn't come from what isn't or is going on externally. Oh, how are you so centered and grounded when there's so much chaos in the world and there's this problem and that problem, political problem and this war and that? How do you still bring light? Because my identity is not with what's going on or not going on in the world. You've shifted that identity into your soul identity. And this is the necessary step for those of you that are looking to step into the world as spiritual teachers, healers, coaches, guides. That's if you feel there's a missing link to your ability to own that fully, it's that shift in identity. And honestly, it's the greatest gift that you can give yourself to really and truly realize who you are beyond the name, the success, the story, the external, razzmatazz and glitz, and really just come back to who you are in the true grounded space of your true self. Yes, where you're able to let go of what no longer serves you and welcome the new, if that's what's needed for your business or for your relationships or as a place to live or whatever, right? You're more able to quickly let go of things that no longer serve you. And I would say that is the biggest lesson I particularly have really drilled down into understanding and embodying during this time of COVID, because it was all about letting go. First, you had to let go of your desire to be out and about as a way of being a normal person, right? We all had to integrate and go inside. Whether we wanted to or not, we were forced to let go of external stimuli in the way that we're used of it, right? And then we had to examine the way we did work. Is this how we want to work even when COVID is over? It showed us portals of other worlds that could exist for us, right? And made us rethink how we were living, how we were working, how we were interacting with each other as human beings. So it's been a complete redirection, shift in human consciousness. And all the things that used to be okay aren't okay anymore. Right? So that's why we see all these different movements that are popping up where people are speaking more openly and honestly about things that have happened to them, whereas before it was just silence and secrets and nobody was saying anything. But now those doors are blown open and people are feeling more free to speak their truth. So coming back to the essence of this, give yourself permission to hear the calling. If you feel that you're put on this planet to be a space holder, a person that helps others connect to their divine essence, to their power, take ownership of the desire that you have to be a change maker, to speak up, to be seen, even though it might be scary. And I can't lie to you, it is scary, okay? It is. But the flip side is that there is so much beauty that comes on the other side of that when you're able to support others because your light shines strong, and therefore it gives other people's permission to shine their light strong. When your voice is consistent and clear and speaks through regardless of what's going on, it gives other people permission to speak up and to show up. When your energy continues to bring light and love, even if you're going through whatever challenges you're going through, that shows other people that no, it can be a difficult moment, but you can still shine your light. You can still dance. You can still laugh. You can still live your life with dignity and joy, because we're taught that that's not possible. You're either in joy or pain, but there isn't a place where you can be empathic and experience like, yes, this is not the most, wonderful moment of my life, but it doesn't need to drag me into depression or, negativity, or a place where I'm not able to show up and experience the light that is who I truly am. So that's it, guys. I'm going to close this down and say, listen to your calling, listen to your heart. If you know that you're meant to be a leader, a guide, a coach, a healer, some form of space holder for transformation, give permission for that to be the case. And join me, click somewhere, wherever there's a link here, and find out more about how I help people who are ready to take ownership of their leadership, and not only take ownership of it, to create a life around that calling. Love, and please spread this to as many people as you think needs this message. Thanks for listening, and see you at the next Spiritual Rebel podcast.